then I won't talk any longer than that.
Okay, we're trying again.
If you want it less, just say so.
Hi, everybody. Sorry for the delay. We had a little bit of technical difficulty in figuring out where we were streaming. So now we are live on the Delaware County Dems page. I'm Eileen Wagner. I'm hosting today, and we have a few guests. So if you have any questions, feel free to type them in on Facebook, and we will try to get to them in the time we have. So that being said, I'm going to throw this to Judge Jennifer Brunner, who is running for State Supreme Court, and we're really excited to have her here today.
Thank you, Eileen, and thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. I was just going to join in, and she offered me an opportunity to say a few words. So I'll keep it to be rather few. Thank you for embracing this technology. This is something that we're adopting more and more in our campaign because we don't know where things are going to be this fall. And typically the digital part of the campaign is not the main part of the campaign. My favorite part is being out, shaking hands, hugging people, speaking to them, hearing their ideas, but we're just going to have to share in a new way and be flexible as the state opens up, and we may have to pull back a little bit sometimes, and then we can go forward. But it looks to me like for quite some time, we'll be limited to 50 people in groups. So things like this are real opportunities for us to all reconnect. And I don't know about you, but I can talk to somebody on a phone, but when I can see their faces, it makes me feel so much better. I hope that you're all doing okay. It is a time where people have suffered losses, and it may not be the loss of a person in your life, hopefully not. Sometimes I know people have lost their jobs, and that's very tough. And then we just lost the ability to do things in ways we did them before. But I think it is helpful to know that we're all doing this together. Even though we're separate, we're still doing it side by side in parallel, through the virtual means. I know you've got someone here from the Biden campaign tonight, and that's very exciting. The big thing for everybody, I think, is going to be getting through that April 28th date past the primary. And then we start moving forward into the November general election. And it may take the boards of elections in the state some time to finalize all those results. I know from experience, having served as Secretary of State from 07 to 11. But I want to emphasize for people that as we look toward the fall, I want you to remember that this absentee voting procedure we're using right now is really not what people around the country refer to as mail-in voting. Mail-in voting doesn't require having to request an absentee ballot application. In states like Oregon, everyone votes by mail, and they get their ballot 3 weeks ahead of time because they're registered to vote. And there are drop-off locations all over the state if somebody doesn't want to mail them in. So I think, as an activist group, you should be on the ready so that you're watching what the voting procedures look like in Ohio for the fall, because despite what the president says about mail-in voting and what he might be trying to do to the US Post Office, what you don't want to do is to get tripped up by the legislature saying, okay, you all talk about mail-in voting, everybody does absentee in the fall, because that's a very tough process, especially for disadvantaged communities. We Democrats are very good at navigating through those rough waters, but I think that if the legislature is going to be looking at this, and most likely they will, one simple thing you could ask for is that if someone wants to make a permanent status of being a mail-in voter, that they're able to designate that so that they don't have to go through that step of getting that absentee ballot application. So throughout the campaign, I'm going to be doing whatever I can to help on that front, because I do have a little experience in that way. And of course, a vested interest, like all of us do, to make sure that we have absolutely great turnout, especially in a presidential election, and especially in an election where we get to have our say about the current administration in the White House. So thank you all for having me here tonight. And I'll stick around, so if there's some questions I might be able to answer, I'd be glad to help out. Thanks again.
Thank you, Judge. I'm so glad you could join us tonight. So with that said, we're going to kick this over to Peg Watkins, chair of the Delaware Democratic Party, and she's going to tell us how to vote if we haven't voted yet.
Peg, you're going to have to unmute your microphone. Thank you. At every Zoom meeting, you have to relearn some of the parts. Anyway, I want to say thank you to Eileen and Melanie for putting this together. It's good to have their technical skills. And it's good to see people's faces when we can't see each other in person, especially. I wanted to say that in addition to being chair of the Democratic Party, I'm also on the Board of Elections for Delaware County. And this morning our board met, and even though 40,000 people have requested absentee ballots for this primary, only about 20,000 of those ballots have been returned. So at this point, it's important for anybody who has a ballot in their possession to get it completed and returned to the Board of Elections. You can either do that through the United States mail, or you can drive it up to the Board of Elections, and there's a secure drop box behind the building. You don't touch anything, and you don't see any of our workers who are working diligently every day. Anyone who sends an absentee ballot request form to the Delaware County Board of Elections will, the office workers are mailing those out within 1 day. So there's no delay from the Board of Elections perspective. There are delays caused by people who haven't been able to fill out the forms completely and correctly. And a lot of that is because the form is confusing, and this whole process has been confusing with it's just an unusual time. This hasn't happened before. What the Secretary of State proposed initially didn't work out. So people are confused about April 28th, June 2nd, March 17th. You can put March 17th on the date for the primary election. You could put April 28th, you could put June 2nd. We will accept any of them. We know your intention is to vote in the primary. So don't worry about that. Just make sure that you designate what type of ballot you want. There are 4 different ballot styles in Delaware County: Democratic, Republican, Libertarian, and in only some precincts, there are issues only ballots available. So for anybody I'm talking to on this call, most likely you want to request a Democrat ballot. And if you don't know about all of the Democratic candidates, you can look on our website, ohiodeladems.org, to learn more about the choices you have as a Democrat in Delaware County. And anybody who's a member of the party and has access to information about other voters, you can encourage your neighbors to return their ballots, and you can help them do that, but you cannot return their ballot for them. Only the voter or a close relative can return anybody's ballot to the Board of Elections. I feel like I gave you a bunch of information really quickly, and I wonder, have I addressed what you want to know, or are there questions that people have?
Hey, Tanya was wondering what the turnaround time has been once the board gets your application.
Once it's received, a ballot goes out within 1 day, if it's all properly filled out, if they know what ballot style you want. And if I would recommend that anybody requesting an absentee ballot include their phone number on the bottom of the form, because in previous times, we've mailed a request to complete that information, but for this cycle, we've got employees that are calling people to fill in the blanks that weren't filled out when the absentee application was received. So it's a quick turnaround, but the mail is not as quick as that. So they may, and you can, the Board of Elections website has an absentee ballot tracker. You can go to the Board of Elections, and in voter information, there's a place you can track your own absentee ballot, and that's how you can see when they sent it out and also when they receive it.
Great, thank you so much, Peg.
Can I ask the question?
Sure.
You had mentioned on Friday, and we had it in our newsletter yesterday, the balance between Republican and Democratic ballots. Did you mention that just now? If I missed it.
I did not say anything about that now.
I wonder
but,
if you have new numbers from this week.
I didn't look at it today. I last looked at it on Friday, I believe. but it has been running very closely, Democratic and Republican votes. But what they're tracking in the absentee ballot reports are requests, not returned ballots. I don't think that we can see the numbers of returned ballots. And I've seen a lot of, when I look at the list of of who has requested a Democratic ballot in my precinct, there are a number of people who were not Democrats previously, who were either Republicans or not affiliated. So it's good to see new people that are asking for Democratic ballots, but I'm also aware that there are people who were not previously Republicans who are requesting Republican ballots. So we'll see, but I expect that the returns from this primary election, when we see the results on the evening of April 28th, they will be a more accurate reflection of the final count, because these ballots will already, most of them will be in the office before April 28th, so they can be counted quicker. We will not have to wait for ballots to come in from the various places all around the county. There are some locations it takes 45 minutes to drive from where they are up to the Board of Elections on North 23. So this actually will save a lot of time in getting the results of this election.
Okay, we've added a link in the live feed comments that has little information about what is on your ballot. And Mary Kate had a question. She says, during an election, there's a printout posted that indicates who has voted and who hasn't. Is that information available anywhere, or do we blanket encourage everyone we know to go vote online or absentee vote?
I would recommend that Mary Kate go to the Board of Elections website, and you need to go to candidate portal and then absentee reports, and she can isolate her precinct to see who has voted and who has not voted. So I would recommend that she do that if she wants to encourage more people to get their votes in. If you need more details on that, you can call me, email me, or, Board of Elections website, candidate portal, absentee reports.
Great, thank you. And one of the big issues on our ballot in the next couple of days is the Olentangy school levy. And tonight we are joined by Julie Feasel, the Vice President of the Olentangy School Board. And she's going to tell us a little bit about what's going on with the levy.
Yes, and I certainly appreciate talking about the schools at any time, especially when we're on the ballot. And if I could emphasize one thing, and the thing I would like to emphasize is that our situation has not changed during the COVID-19 pandemic. People see that our buildings are closed, but we are required by law, Ohio Revised Code 3319.08B for certified employees and 3319.081G for our classified employees states that during an epidemic that our employees must be paid. And that's not just for Olentangy, that's for school districts across the state. So we still are paying our employees. We'll see a savings in like gasoline for buses, or, not making copies, some utilities, but we are providing food to our students that we were normally charging money for. And so we'll probably see a wash in that, because we are distributing breakfast and lunch for 5 days a week to any student under the age of 18 in our school district who needs that food. No questions asked. So there's no revenue coming in, so we'll have to offset those costs. We are also not collecting any rental fees. We have a lot of rental fees when we rent out our gymnasiums, on the weekends or in the evening, so we don't have that income coming in. Other challenges that we're going to be seeing are cuts to state funding. The governor has already said all departments expect a 20% cut in their funding. And we expect that to be with state funding, not just for this fiscal year, but beyond. And even though we get so few state dollars, we count on those dollars. Also, because the casinos are closed, we get $52 per pupil for casinos from their revenue. There's no revenue, so we don't know what the impact from that will be. We've also been told by the county auditor that we'll probably see a lag in collections. And so, you know, when you only get your money twice a year, you have to make sure you have that float in there so you can pay your bills. So that's another thing that we are concerned about. We'll be returning probably sports fees that people had paid in the springs. We'll be returning those. So our needs have not changed. Our students' population is still growing. We saw growth during the last recession. We have not stopped growing in this district since 1985. Our enrollment projections count those kids that are in our district that are 1, 2, 3, and 4 years old who will be in these schools that we need to build in the future. So our needs are still there. People are still buying houses. Thank goodness for the housing industry, but our needs have not changed. And if I could stress that enough, we still need people to vote yes on this issue. And we are still pounding the payment and reminding people, request those absentee ballots and get them in by the deadlines. It's been very confusing. As Peg said, our people you know, are asking, is this a primary? They don't know what kind of election it is. They don't normally vote on paper. They like to go to the ballot box and push the buttons. And then the date has been confusing. And so we're, you know, trying to get the word out. But I just want people to realize that our need is still there, and they should still be voting yes for Olentangy schools. That is the one thing that we can say is a great investment right now. You know, the stock market was down again today, unfortunately, but the investment in your child or any child's education is a lasting investment. And so I would stress to everybody in my school district that these the additional taxes are not going to be collected until after the first of the year. And so, you know, we have made plans to be on the ballot, and we are on the ballot. We still need the money that would be generated from this issue. If anyone has any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them. If not here, you know, at any time. We are the 7th largest school district in the state, which is hard to believe. You know, you always think of Columbus, Cleveland, and Cincinnati as the big ones. Well, you got to throw in Olentangy in there as well. But we perform at a very high academic level, and our cost per pupil is below the state's average. So for us, it's not an overspending problem. For us, it's always been growth in the lack of state funding.
Julie, Jay is wondering if you have a view or any information to share about what schools might look like at Olentangy once they reopen.
Oh, no. And in fact, we are waiting for the governor to tell us. He kind of tips his hand a little bit every day. You know, we're all tuned in at 2 o'clock to see what he's going to say. And we don't know. We need guidance. And it's not just Olentangy. My sisters teach and work in Pickerington. You know, every school district in the state needs to know what it's going to look like. We don't want to put out there, oh, kids are going to be going this way or kids are going to be going that way, because we don't know. We certainly don't know. But what we do know is that we're going to have kids in buildings at some point. And we've also realized that to appreciate sending our kids to those buildings. I think everybody who has dealt with online education, we call it distance learning now, can say, hey, we really appreciate the traditional school atmosphere. The kids are telling us they want to see their friends and their teachers, and we still need buildings. We are not by any means, this state is not by any means going to an all online school. K through 12. It just doesn't work for everyone, the majority of people anyway. So we're waiting on guidance from the governor. I will tell you that.
That makes sense to me. As a mom of 2 kids in Olentangy, I am feeling that pinch, but they are loving the interactions that they are getting with their teachers, and they're doing a really great job under these circumstances. We have another question. What do you say to people who don't have kids in the system or to retirees, and how do you help them understand the need to pass the levy with everything going on, or even before that?
Yeah, I'm a believer in public education. In our state level, the state budget is made, the biggest pieces of the pie are Medicaid, incarceration, and education. So we medicate, we incarcerate, and we educate. I have always told people, if we spent more money on education, we could spend less money on Medicaid and incarceration. That is my philosophy in life. It is an investment in your future. If you do not have children in our district yet, or don't anymore, or never have, to invest in any public education is an investment of your community's future. Olentangy, it's not a city. It's not a Hilliard or a Westerville or a Worthington or a Pickerington. Olentangy is, the schools are the center of our community. And so for a good community, I truly believe in strong schools. And so I hope that someone who doesn't have children in our school district yet believes in the investment of public education. And please know that we are great stewards of their tax money. When we get it, we are not spending it, on computers for every student. We do not provide computers for every student. There are no bonuses for our administration or school board members when this passes. I want to tell people we are very good stewards of their tax dollars, as can be seen by our cost per pupil. We spend just a little over $11,000 per pupil, and that's under the state and our similar districts averages. So please know we are doing great things with your tax dollars, and please invest in your community by investing in your schools.
Great. And we have a question from Judy, who wondered if it was possible that positions might get cut due to the virus.
I don't know that positions would get cut due to the virus, because we are continuing to add students. So no matter how we have to teach students in the fall, we need instructors to teach them. We are trying to do some hiring right now, but because of the pandemic situation and because of the financial situation, we don't know if we will be hiring or making cuts, because if we fail, we have to make $15 million in cuts. And cutting sports, extracurricular activities, and busing only gets us to 6 million. So we have to come up with the rest of that in programming, which means larger classrooms, fewer elective classes for our students, possibly fewer supports in our classrooms. So it would look really, really different if we fail. Looking different because, of a different situation because of the pandemic, we don't know yet, but it will Olentangy will not be the same if we don't pass on April 28th.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. And please, please, please get your ballots in.
Yes.
Once you have that ballot, it has to be postmarked by April 27th in order to be counted, or you can drop it off, like Peg said, at the Board of Elections on April 28th before 7:30 p.m.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And next, we're going to have Lianna Havel from the Biden campaign, who is going to talk to us about what's coming with the presidential election.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Lianna. I'm a field organizer with the Biden campaign, and we are, really excited that we're the presumptive nominee. We know that people still need to get their votes in, and we still want to make sure that everyone's focusing on getting their ballots in and being safe in voting, and working on those down ballot elections and the initiatives that we've talked about so far today. Joe Biden has really been working hard to make sure that everyone, whether it be the staffers like me or the volunteers we have on the campaign, are being actively engaged. And that means we've been doing something called community calls, which is us honestly just checking on people and seeing how they're doing, because we realize in this time not everyone wants to be getting that phone call of, oh, have you decided who you're going to vote for and what are you going to be doing? So we've been reaching out and just, you know, caring about people, checking in on them. And then this Saturday we have a very exciting event coming up called Soul of the Nation Saturday. Last year on April 25th, Joe Biden launched his campaign, and because it's the year anniversary on Saturday, we really wanted to do something to, you know, give back to all the people who are on the front lines of the coronavirus crisis right now. So, you know, our first responders, our medical professionals, and our essential workers. So Soul of the Nation Saturday is going to be really focused on having a bunch of virtual events across the state of Ohio and across the country, where people will reach out to their communities and do things that give back and show thanks. So the initial working title was a Day of Appreciation. But what it's, some of the things people are doing are, they're committing to calling 3 of their friends, because they know there's power in talking to the people that they know and getting them invested in this, because we are, like everyone has said, in this together, even though we're not physically together. So a really cool event that I'm working with somebody on. She decided that it would be really nice if her neighbors put out yard signs for thanking physicians and such. So she's going to have all her husband, who's a physician, and his friends get in a car caravan. And in this caravan, they're not going to interact with each other, of course, because, you know, that's not safe right now, but they're going to drive past all these yard signs just so people can feel really welcome and know that their work that they're doing, the danger that they're putting themselves in, is appreciated. And then they're going to end at the hospital with their own yard signs to hold up signs to the patients and just make those people feel loved and supported. So this Saturday, we're just having a whole bunch of those types of events to get people, you know, invested in their communities and saying thank you to these people. And then if they want to get involved with the campaign after they've done that, we're welcoming them. But that is not really the goal of the event. We just want to show our thanks, because, you know, I started the campaign in Iowa when things were not looking so hot for Joe Biden at certain times. I was one of only a couple of field organizers in the whole state of Texas. And, you know, we've had some lows, but we've had some really great highs, because people care about Joe Biden. They care about the direction of this country and his vision for how things are going. So that's kind of the idea of Soul of the Nation Saturday. If anyone is interested who's paying attention to this call right now, please feel free to reach out to me. Is it okay if I share my email address, or is that not okay?
Go for it. That would be
Okay.
great.
L Havel, so the letter L, HAV as in Victor, EL at joebiden.com. Just put Soul of the Nation Saturday in the subject line, and I will get back to you tomorrow with more information about that. So again, LHAV as in Victor, EL at joebiden.com. Soul of the Nation Saturday in the subject line, and I'd be happy to do that. Just be also aware that right now the campaign is doing everything it can to reach voters. We've been doing a lot of online town halls. Joe Biden has a podcast called Here's the Deal. Sorry, I had Soul of the Nation in my head. Here's the Deal podcast. This week he had Amy Klobuchar, he's had Gretchen Whitmer, he's had Ron Klain, he's had a lot of great people on. He does virtual town halls a lot with the people who are on the front lines of the coronavirus. And, you know, he's trying to make it known that even though Donald Trump isn't responsible for the virus, he's responsible for the way that our country has been slow to react, and how he's attacking governors and attacking first responders is not the way this country is meant to be led. So, you know, Joe Biden's out here working hard, and we are welcoming of anybody who wants to come to our campaign. We know we've got to earn every vote, and we're going to work hard to do so. And hopefully we can have your help, and you'll submit your ballots on April 28th, not just for us, but for all of the other races that are going on too. So if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer. I know I talked a lot.
Yeah, we've got a few. Suzanne would like to know when Joe will announce his running mate. And I think a lot of us would love to know that.
So the answer is, I'm sorry, I don't actually have the specific answer. You can bet on it being sometime before the convention, which has now moved, I believe, August 17th. It was going to be in July. I know that we have a committee of folks doing a lot of the vetting process right now, and he's publicly announced that it's going to be, he's got it down to about 10 candidates. He has committed to having a woman, which I'm super excited about because he wants it. Yes, it's very exciting. He wants to have his cabinet and the people in his administration reflect the makeup of this country. So he's committed to having the first female African-American on the Supreme Court. He's got a lot of ideas about how to make sure that, you know, he's reflecting this country and surrounds himself with the best, most capable people. I don't have a date for you. I'm really sorry, but hopefully it'll be soon because I'm excited as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of us are. And I'm really excited to see who all he brings in and see more than just white men.
Yes,
sitting
absolutely.
around
That's a
in
promise.
the Oval Office. So
Yes.
Jay has a question, and it's with DeWine's leadership on the coronavirus, how do things look for Joe Biden in Ohio? And I don't know how much you know about Ohio specifically, but.
Well, that's a great question. So before, I am from Ohio, so I'm in Ohio right now. And just from my feel on the ground, things felt really good. I was organizing in Columbus before we shut down the physical offices on the 13th. And everything felt really good then. Of course, you know, a lot can change between now and November, and I don't know specific information about this, but all I can say is anecdotally, I feel good about things. We're gonna have to fight. Ohio has been leaning a little bit redder in the past recently, but we're close enough, I think, to a battleground state that with all your help and your support and you coming out and volunteering and talking to your neighbors and talking to your friends, we can make Ohio blue and not just have Joe Biden win, but down ballot tickets all the way can go do really well in Ohio. So we're hopeful for that and we're working hard to make it happen.
And we have I think we have 3 questions so far about what campaigning will look like during social distancing. How are we going to connect with voters? What creative ideas are we going to be engaged in?
Sure. So like I said, we're doing the best we can right now to reach people and keep them engaged. It definitely is challenging when we don't have the traditional campaign go-tos like canvassing to knock on people's doors or having these big rallies where it's really exciting. If you meet Joe Biden, you love Joe Biden. So that's been something that we've sort of been working through, and they tell us all the time when we have staff meetings and everything that this is the first time anything like this has ever happened. And I don't want to say we're making it up as we go along, because we really have plans and we really are thinking through everything, but it's new. It's all new. So, you know, the Soul of the Nation Saturday event that we're having, we're trying to engage people through that. We're trying to have the virtual town hall meetings. We've had something called virtual rope lines, which when people have committed to doing a lot of phone calls, they get an opportunity to talk to Joe himself or Dr. Jill Biden, his wife, or some of our other really great surrogates like John Kerry, Kamala Harris, Amy Klobuchar, those types of folks. So I'm not saying we're bribing you to volunteer, but if that's an incentive to you, feel free to do some phone calls. I think one of the things that's exciting about Soul of the Nation Saturday is that it is people getting to be creative themselves. You know, like that event I told you about, the lady having the caravan with the signs. That's something she came up with. That was not my idea. And we're just running with it because it's awesome. And we found that our volunteers and the people who are invested in this campaign and the direction of our country are all really motivated to come up with things to do. Like some of the things we've applied in our campaign have been ideas we've had from voters from when we call someone and they say, yeah, I really want to do such and such a thing. And it happens. Like people have said, you know, there was that movement of Where's Joe, which was unfortunate, but we've gotten him out there. We've got this podcast now. That was somebody else's idea. We've got these calls we're doing just to check on people. We're doing all these things and we're trying to come up with ways to engage people in a way that still is meaningful and motivating, but of course has the restriction of can't be in physical contact. So we're working on it. And again, if you want to email me any ideas, I'm happy to pass them along to the appropriate team. But I hope that answers the question a little bit better.
Thanks. I think that does. And I want to remind everybody, as someone who's run locally and as someone who's involved with politics, that when we get people out to vote for Joe Biden, it helps all of our candidates down the ticket, including
Absolutely.
Judge Brunner, and we need those Supreme Court seats. So
Yes.
we've got a lot of work to do, and I think we're going to be hearing a lot more about what the opportunities are. I know the Westerville Progressive Alliance did a training on digital organizing yesterday, so keep your eyes out for some other opportunities. I think we had one other question from a little bit earlier. Someone was asking how to help people feel like their votes will count, even though they are going through the mail, and how to get them to turn in. And I thought maybe Judge Brunner would have something to say about that as the former Secretary of State.
Thanks, Eileen. As Peg was saying earlier, because all the votes now at this point are going to be coming in by mail, the boards of elections are empowered to scan those, but not tabulate those. So as Peg said, you'll see election night, the results will go up fairly quickly. The boards of elections are connected electronically to the Secretary of State's office. So really it'll be a matter of just things coming in from the counties, and the counties not having to wait for precincts in the hinterlands of the county to get their ballots in. So I know a lot of people feel more comfortable voting in person because they push that button on the machine, or they fill in that circle and they put it in the scanner themselves, depending upon the voting system. But your vote will count. It's just very important that you get your ballot and that you get it returned. And you have to have it postmarked, as Julie said, on the 27th, even though the election goes through the 28th. If it's postmarked on the 28th, they really won't have the ability to know whether you turned it in before the close of the polls or after the close of the polls, which is why they say it has to be postmarked by the 27th. But if you have any bit of discomfort about whether your ballot will be counted, take it to the Board of Elections yourself. And there's a drive-through drop box, like Peg said earlier, at the Delaware County Board of Elections, or you can have a close relative take that in for you, or you can take a close relative's ballot in. You can't do it for a friend. The statute, the law says either you drop it off or a close relative drops it off. If you're getting your ballot, if you're putting a stamp on your ballot and you're going to mail it in and you're close to the deadline, you may want to try to take it to a post office if you can and get it hand stamped by the post office, so that there is a postmark on it and not just a stamp with no evidence for the Board of Elections on when this was actually placed into the mail. So that's my best advice for you. Peg, you might be able to add to it since you're right there on the ground doing the real work.
Thanks, Judge Brunner. I just would like to echo what you said, that it is important that people get their ballots turned in quickly. I mean, there's no reason to hesitate once you get it completed. If you have any questions as you're completing it, there are many people you can reach out to. You can call the Board of Elections. You can reach out to anyone you know in the Democratic Party who will be able to, well, we would direct you to our website, and there are people you can email through our website as well, so you can get an answer quickly. But I think it's going to be helpful for more people to vote through the mail this way in the primary, and hopefully that will lead to more people being comfortable with this process again in the fall.
Thank you, Peg and Judge Brunner. Lianna, Marianne has a question for you. She wonders, does Joe have a plan to claim a piece of the nationwide TV audience to balance in some way what Trump is getting away with?
That is a great question. So we've spent a lot of time talking about this on the campaign. You know, he is doing interviews. He is doing his best to get his face on television. Of course, it's hard when the thing that there is an earned media aspect of this is going to have those rallies that you can't have, and live events are the things that the media covers. And so when Donald Trump has the opportunity every day to have these, if we're being generous, questionable press conferences that he's having, he's going to be covered when Joe Biden doesn't have those opportunities to be in front of live audiences. So he really is focusing on being present in interviews and having a lot of them. He does morning shows, he does, the late shows, he does evening news. He's doing his best to get in front of people. That being said, earned media in this age of quarantine, self-quarantine, people not being out in public, is not going to be about live events. It's going to probably be a larger focus on having an online presence, which means that, if we get enough people to participate in Soul of the Nation Saturday, then maybe there will be an earned media story on the news about it that way, and we get positive coverage from that. Or if, a lot of people go to his virtual town hall that he's having, maybe they'll show a clip of it on the news. So working on earned media to find ways for the media to cover the campaign is going to happen by getting people involved, getting people activated. And that's why we're working hard on these type of things, because we realize that when you can't have a physical presence to have a live event to be covered, you have to make noise and be present in another way, and that's what's going to get the media to cover you. So I think our plan is just to continue to build big events, have people show up, show their enthusiasm for Joe Biden, listen to his interviews that he's going to continue to do, and hopefully we'll be able to drown out a lot of the negativity that Donald Trump is putting on the airwaves, and we're working hard to make that happen. And we need your help to make it happen. So yes. That would be my answer.
Great. And somebody asked how we can get yard signs.
Awesome. So usually we would give them away at our office. Of course, we don't have the physical space right now to store them and give them away. So you do have to order them online at the current time. If you go to joebiden.com, there's a button that says store. And if you click on that, then there's going to be all of our t-shirts, our bumper stickers, all of that. And one of them is yard signs. But I would encourage you to do that because it is important. Yard signs make a difference. There's a lot of research about that. But anyway, when things open back up, we will have them in our offices as well. But at this time, that is the way to get the yard signs.
Great. Thank you so much. I think that's it. We don't have any more questions, and we've added a link to the yard signs. Oh, yes.
I have a question.
Hi, Kara.
Hi. So, Lianna, are you looking for those of us locally, like for instance in Delaware, to come up with innovative ideas on our own and to carry those out? Or how, if we have ideas, do you want us to contact you and then, facilitate it from there?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, the ultimate goal really is to just have involvement. So if you want to do it yourself, you can, but what we'd really encourage and prefer is if you would reach out. I can give my email address again, lhavel@joebiden.com. Reach out to me and I can give you a call, and I'm happy to have a chat about, all the ideas you have or that you're coming up with, or if you have something that's kind of nebulous, I'm happy to work through it with you so that we can implement it in a way that's structured and simple for you. We don't want you to feel overwhelmed with this. We want to support you on this Soul of the Nation Saturday. So I guess the true answer is yes, please reach out to me. I'll help you structure it. We can get you a mobilized link for you to send to your friends. But yeah, it's all hands on deck. So if you have anything, please feel free to reach out and I will do my best to help you make it something special and meaningful for you.
We have a question that I think will probably depend on how things are going with the pandemic, but do you think we will have an office presence in Delaware or Delaware County?
I would definitely say it's dependent on how things are going with the pandemic, but I think it's safe to say that if things are opened up, then yes.
Great. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. I'm going to throw this back to Peg to say goodbye and let you guys know what's coming up next.
Thank you, Eileen. I'm really glad that we had this experience tonight, and it wasn't perfect, but it was a good opportunity for us to experience the live streaming and have different people be able to speak, and also to allow people to ask questions and get them answered. I'm really happy to meet Leanne, and I look forward to our party, our local county party, working with the Biden campaign as we move forward toward the fall election. And once again, I want to say everybody who has requested a ballot should get that ballot completed and turn it into the Board of Elections. And if you have not yet gotten a ballot to vote in this primary, please request one or download it from the Board of Elections website and then complete it and get it turned in so that your vote counts in this primary. And that will help us moving forward. Thank you.